commentary, which is on our FM frequencies and online as well. Marco Gabbiadini, the former Sunderland striker, is here as well and has been an interested observer in this first half. What are your reflections on a half in which Sunderland were probably outplayed for the majority of it, but they're still in the game?
Yeah, I think if we'd have got to half-time 0-0, you'd have been very pleased and a little bit relieved. You could just, I think when the Longstaff had a chance from another Gordon breakaway down the left-hand side, got deflected out to the edge of the box and he missed his opportunity, and I think that was probably the second or third half chance that they had. You could just start to see the ascendancy, their ascendancy in the midfield starting to make its effect in the final third for them. So Sunderland have battled hard, they've put some big tackles in, but they've missed, starting to miss a few of those tackles. And when you've got the pace, that's what we've talked about for a long time on Total Sport, especially about this Sunderland side, and it's been one of our biggest deficiencies over the years, and we still struggle, I think, in as a collective. There's one or two who are quick, but you can see the real difference between someone like Joe Linton, who's so powerful, but also just the number of times it's been tight in midfield and they've got onto the ball, but not only just got onto it, we've then put good pressure on them, but they've always managed to just get a pass away before the tackles come in, and then all of a sudden your midfield is committed and he's having to get off the floor, turn around and run back to his own goal, and that's when the gaps start to appear, and I think that's what we've seen a little bit towards the end of that second half. And Trey Hume getting a booking, I think, in the end as well, which could be significant.
Some people were a little bit concerned about some of the younger players and whether they would stand up to the occasion. I don't think there's been any problem with that in terms of the attitude of the endeavour and the fact that they've been up for it and they've kind of taken the occasion on board. But I think, as you pointed out, it is just those gaps in pace, in power, in technique in some cases as well that have been the difference.
Yeah, I mean, look, Newcastle's passing hasn't been great. They've knocked it out of play 5 or 6 times, going for the big diagonal balls, the switch balls. But as a piece, when you put it all together, you can see that just those turnover situations, those situations where the ball's bobbling about, and Dan Neil's had a few where he's took it on the chest and tried to bring the ball down to get us playing, but there's been 2 or 3 people around him and they've overpowered him and got possession back, and it's no fault of anybody. It's just that as a collective, Newcastle are a more powerful, fitter, stronger team because of probably the experience of their players, and their players play in the Premier League and their players play for top international teams. So that's the difference. But Sunderland knew that before this game started, and I don't think they started nervously or they didn't look overawed. And it's still only 1-0, so it only takes a moment of madness from a defender or a moment of magic from one of our forwards, and the game can change quickly. But excuse me, towards the end of that half, some worrying signs, and we've got to get at it and get closer a little bit, a bit closer to the midfielders, especially before they start spraying it about.
You've been having a look at the Sunderland bench as well and kind of mulling over what options there are there. Yeah. Perhaps not a huge amount for Michael Beale. I mean, what would your message be if you were him to his players, and what would you be thinking of in terms of potentially making any changes?
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one because you've got 2 issues. One, it's a cup game. You've got to get a result today, and 2, you don't want to have a big negative result because of what we're doing, how well we're doing in the league. So that would we don't want something that's going to affect us for a while. But I think in that midfield area, we do look a little bit overpowered. Pritchard, the number of times he's had some nice touches, but he's beaten 1, he's beaten 2, but then by the time the third one gets to him, he's been ambushed and the ball's off his toe and up the other end of the park with the likes of Isaac and Gordon, wanting to run in behind. That's been a big feature of Newcastle's game, is that they've not been afraid to play the ball quickly forward. And by contrast, that's one of our least favourite moves in our team. There's been a few times where Rusyn's been on to play forward to, and it hasn't happened. But look, changes, could you shore up the midfield a bit? We've seen Seal come in as a midfielder, playing in front of the back 4. you know, maybe Pritchard. I mean, I think Bellingham looked a yard short today. Just, you know, maybe an occasion. He's had a busy season. You know, he's done ever so well for us, but just being off the pace a bit today. You know, do you just shore it up a little bit, make it a little bit stronger in that centre of the park, and then hope that your wider players can get a bit of success? But it's a mountain to climb, you know, being 1-0 down in a game against a Premier League side when they can, you know, have a little bit more confidence on the ball. There were some spells in the first half early on where Newcastle looked a little bit tentative. You know, they had possession, but they weren't really wanting to commit too much. Just, you know, happy to keep possession in the back four. But now